Hey there, tech enthusiasts. Welcome to Future Phone Flash, your ultimate hotspot for diving into the future of mobile technology. Here, we're all about unboxing the latest gadgets, exploring cutting-edge features, and giving you the insider scoop on what's next in the world of smartphones. So, if you're passionate about staying ahead of the tech curve, you're in the right place. Let's get the excitement rolling and dive into today's tech extravaganza. Another year, another addition to Xiaomi's extensive lineup, and this time it's the T series. But hey, let's clear the air. The T line isn't just an upgrade to the numbered flagships, and it's definitely not a successor. In fact, it's Xiaomi's flagship killer family, and we're here to break down why. There's been some confusion, especially with Poco F series also claiming the flagship killer title. Here's the deal. Xiaomi's T series takes the premium flagship killer spot, while Poco F5 and F5 Pro cater to those who want the best bang for their buck. Today, our focus is on the big player in this game, the Xiaomi 13T Pro. With launch pricing that means business and specs that speak volumes, there's a new player in the camera game, Leica. Yes, you heard it right, the iconic Leica branding is making its debut in the T line. Why Leica, you ask? Perhaps Xiaomi was looking for that unique edge in the T series, and Leica brings in a fresh perspective. Is it an attempt to challenge OnePlus and their Hasselblad partnership? Stick around, and we'll find out. Now, we don't just throw specs at you. We've lived with the Xiaomi 13T Pro. It's been our daily driver, and today, we're giving you the real deal, the in-depth experience beyond the lab tests and benchmarks. From morning coffee to late-night binge-watching, we've put the Xiaomi 13T Pro through its paces. Cameras, battery life, and everything in between. This is the review for those who want to know how a phone feels in real life. Alright, let's talk design. At first glance, the Xiaomi 13T Pro screams late 2023 high-end phone, and let's be honest, they all kind of look alike these days. The front, rocking a center-aligned hole punch camera, checks all the boxes for modern Android devices. Now, about those bezels, the top one aligns with the sides, but the bottom is a tad thicker. It's a subtle detail, only noticeable with certain content on the screen. It hints that this might not be the priciest kid on the block, where symmetry and thinner bezels often reign supreme. Speaking of materials, the frame plays the plastic card, or at least it's plastic covered. It's flat, but not entirely iPhone-esque due to its thin sides. Handling, though, is surprisingly great with the curved back, especially if you're rocking the faux leather rear like our blue review unit. Now, let's talk about the bundled case. It's a bit of a letdown, feeling cheaper than the phone's premium vibe. Props to Xiaomi for including one, but it almost nudges you to ditch it and flaunt the phone as is. The camera island, a rectangular monstrosity as they put it, might not win a beauty contest, but it's an improvement from the 12T Pro. How often do you really stare at it, right? Plus, the Leica branding adds a touch of class, providing useful information about the camera range. This isn't the lightest phone in the world, but it strikes a balance between heft and usability. The top-heavy feel is minimal, making it a comfortable daily driver. And guess what's exciting? The Xiaomi 13T Pro boasts an IP68 rating, the first for the T series, giving it dust and water resistance. Take note, other flagship killers. Let's talk about the heartbeat of the phone, the vibration motor. Now, the Xiaomi 13T Pro comes equipped with a solid performer, but it's not quite claiming the top spot. We've experienced some fantastic motors recently, and this one, while good, lacks a bit of that crispness we've come to expect from the absolute best. Don't get us wrong, the vibrations are on point, but there's a subtle dullness compared to the absolute best in the market. Using the ever-popular tier list format, we'd put this in Tier A for context. Tier S is the best, and Tier A is the second best. It's close but not quite taking the crown. Now, here's a neat feature for those who like to tailor their experience: the haptic feedback level slider. You can customize the UI-related vibrations to your liking. We always max these out to squeeze out every ounce of oomph that this motor can deliver. There's plenty of vibrational goodness, but for our taste, it falls just a tad short of the absolute best in the business. Let's kick things off with the sound game. The speakers on the 13T Pro are not just good, they're very, very good. In fact, they rank among the best we've ever heard from a long-term reviewed phone. The quality and maximum volume are impressive, especially considering the pricing, which gives a solid competition to some of the mainstream flagships released in 2023. Whether in a bustling environment or your private sanctuary, the speakers deliver, and you won't find yourself craving more volume. Now, Xiaomi, being Xiaomi, decided to double up the top speaker with outputs from both the earpiece and an oval cutout in the frame, making media playback richer. However, a side effect is some sound leakage during phone calls. It's a trade-off, but in our opinion, the enhanced quality and volume for media playback make it worthwhile. Now, shifting our focus to the screen, a 6.67-inch display, a size that seems to be Xiaomi's favorite judging by its recurrence. But hey, who's complaining when it's just right, as Xiaomi puts it? The flat panel is a winner, getting significantly brighter than its predecessor. It may not reach the sun-defying levels of the Galaxy S23, but it comes close. However, we have a bone to pick with its dimness in pitch-black environments. Unfortunately, Xiaomi hasn't hopped on the extra dim bandwagon, leaving users with limited options for comfortable nighttime use. On a positive note, the auto brightness algorithm is a rock star. Minimal manual adjustments are needed, and it smoothly adapts to your preferences over time. Kudos, Xiaomi! Now, the screen quality is top-notch. The default vivid color mode faithfully reproduces the DCI-P3 color space, while the original color mode aligns with the sRGB space. Confusing color options aside, these modes provide accurate and vibrant visuals. Now, when it comes to refresh rates, most phones these days hover around the 120 Hz mark. But hold on to your hats because the 13T Pro decided to up the ante and goes all the way to 144 Hz. That's right, not settling for the norm, Xiaomi brings a little extra smoothness to the table. Now, you might be wondering, will you actually notice a difference between 120 Hz and 144 Hz in your day-to-day use? Well, not really. The 144 Hz kicks in primarily during gaming, benchmarks, and specific compatible apps, not so much in your regular UI rendering. But hey, it's there for those moments when you need that extra boost. Xiaomi's got you covered with the usual automatic refresh rate option that intelligently switches between rates based on your usage. And for the tech enthusiasts out there, you can take matters into your own hands with the custom setting, where you can lock in that silky smooth 144 Hz. Quick note: choosing 144 Hz doesn't mean your display is constantly running at that speed. It just means it can hit that higher rate more often. And if you've been following our long-term reviews, you won't be surprised to hear that we, of course, had the phone set to the custom 144 Hz setting. Why? Because we're all about that maximum refresh rate life. It adds a whole new level of smoothness that we can't resist. Biometrics. It's the digital key to your device, and on the 13T Pro, we've got an optical in-display fingerprint sensor. Now, let's get one thing straight. It's not the speedster of the bunch. In the realm of in-display sensors, it's a tad slower compared to the ultrasonic counterparts, like the one found on the S23. Now, speed aside, the accuracy is commendable. It gets you in about 94 to 95% of the time on the first try, which is solid but not the absolute top-tier performance we've seen in some other devices. We suspect Xiaomi might have opted for the second best here to keep the 13T Pro at its competitive price point. But wait, there's more. Face unlocking is also in the mix, utilizing the front-facing camera. Now, it's convenient but not Fort Knox level secure, given that it relies solely on visuals. The software even gives you a heads up about potential vulnerabilities with pictures or videos. At least there's a small comfort. It won't work if your eyes are closed, so no unlocking while you're catching Z's. You can even set it up to scan for your face when a new notification pops up on the locked screen. We gave it a whirl, but the constant scanning got a bit too much for us, so we turned it off. But hey, you might find it handy. Personal preferences and all that. First up, let's talk about a feature that's often overlooked but can be a game changer, the Always-On Display, or AOD. Now, you might be scratching your head, wondering where to find these settings. Well, they're tucked away under Wallpaper and Personalization. But here's the kicker. It might only show up as Wallpaper in your main settings menu. It took us a minute to find it, so we're here to save you some time. Let's dive into what the AOD on Xiaomi devices has to offer. Xiaomi's AOD feature is quite versatile. You can keep it always on, have it light up for 10 seconds with a tap, or schedule it just the way you like. And for those battery-saving warriors out there, it automatically turns off when the battery saver is activated. No more unnecessary drain. Now, if you're someone who loves customization, you're going to enjoy this. The AOD options in MIUI 14 are plentiful. Whether you're into analog or digital clocks, kaleidoscopes, or even custom images and text, there's something here for everyone. And while direct support for Bitmoji or Animoji isn't available, you can still use them as custom images. Moving on to a feature that's been getting rave reviews for a while now, Xiaomi's reading mode. Unchanged in HyperOS, it offers an unmatched array of options. From a simple filter to the more complex paper version, complete with texture sliders, desaturated colors, and even a black and white mode. And yes, you can schedule it to your lifestyle, automatically turning on at sunset and off at sunrise. Whether you're a night reader or someone who spends hours on your phone, this feature is designed to make your experience more comfortable and tailored to your needs. The spotlight today is on the 13T Pro, powered by the Dimensity 9200 Plus SoC. Now, you might be thinking, isn't that chip yesterday's news? Well, think again. Despite being overtaken by the newer Dimensity 9300, this processor is far from a pushover. For your everyday tasks, this phone is a beast. Whether it's browsing, social media, or streaming, the 13T Pro keeps up with the best, including devices sporting the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. And for those of you who aren't into gaming, you're looking at flawless performance without a hint of regret. But what about smoothness? This is where things get interesting. The 13T Pro delivers an exceptionally smooth experience, though it doesn't quite surpass the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 powered 13 Pro. It's a tie at the top, sharing the crown for the smoothest phone we've had the pleasure of reviewing long-term. Now, in the ever-evolving world of smartphones, titles are always up for grabs. With new contenders on the horizon, sporting the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and Dimensity 9300, the competition is heating up. The OnePlus 11 is already breathing down their necks as the next smooth operator. And what about the OnePlus 12? Could it redefine smoothness in the smartphone arena? Only time will tell, and you bet we'll be here to cover it, so stay tuned. First off, the battery life on the 13T Pro is nothing short of outstanding. We've been using it extensively and we're impressed by its endurance. Unfortunately, Xiaomi's HyperOS doesn't allow us to show the usual screen-on-time screenshots, a peculiar choice by Xiaomi, especially when brands like Samsung are enhancing these features in their UIs. Let's talk real-world usage. The phone packs a 5000 mAh battery, and it performs exceptionally well. On our busiest days, which are quite intense, we never ended with less than 25% battery. On average days, we had about 30 to 35% battery left, which is a great reserve for unexpected scenarios. Our typical day involves 12 to 16 hours off the charger, primarily using Wi-Fi 6, about an hour on 5G, continuous Bluetooth connectivity, a couple of hours listening to podcasts or music, an hour of phone calls, and around 30 minutes of GPS navigation. This is quite a heavy usage pattern, so your experience may vary depending on your usage. Now, let's talk about charging. The 13T Pro supports 120W fast charging and it's incredibly quick, going from 0 to full in just 26 minutes in our tests. It's important to note, to achieve these speeds, you'll need to use the charger and cable provided in the box. Yes, unlike Apple, Google, and Samsung, Xiaomi includes a charger. However, it's worth mentioning, wireless charging is not an option with the 13T Pro due to its price point. But given the wired charging speed, we hardly missed it. If wireless charging is a must for you, this might be a deal breaker. First off, HyperOS sounds futuristic, right? But if you're expecting a radical departure from MIUI, you might be a bit disappointed. Think of it as the next step in MIUI's evolution, like a MIUI 14.5, rather than something entirely new. In the world of Android, we've seen manufacturers polishing and incrementally updating their skins without any groundbreaking changes. HyperOS follows this trend. It's closer in looks and functionality to other skins than ever before, but still retains unique elements that set Xiaomi apart. On the 13T Pro, HyperOS keeps much of what made MIUI 14 popular, with some under-the-hood improvements. However, in everyday use, don't expect the 13T Pro to feel drastically faster or smoother than its predecessor, the 13 Pro. Moving on to updates. Xiaomi's update schedule remains consistent with their past devices. Expect an update roughly every 2 months. And yes, sometimes these updates might lag behind in security patches. Here's some good news though. Xiaomi promises 4 Android updates for the 13T Pro and 5 years of security patches. While it's not groundbreaking compared to its competitors, it's definitely a reassuring commitment. The 13T Pro, launched with Android 13, should ideally get updates up to Android 17, with security support until around October 2028. So, what's the bottom line? If you're eyeing the 13T Pro, you can rest assured that your device won't be left behind in software updates anytime soon. But, be prepared for the update cadence and some lingering bugs in the Xiaomi skin. So, right after setting up the phone, we stumbled upon something quite odd. Most apps had their notifications turned off by default. This seems like a throwback to the days when international versions of Chinese skins exhibited similar behavior, which they've since moved past. This setting could impact critical notifications, like bank alerts or important emails, so it's something you'd want to catch early on. Fixing this was straightforward once we noticed it, but that's just it. If you don't realize it's happening, you might miss some important updates. We're hoping this issue was just a fluke on our European review unit, but it's something to be aware of and check immediately. Moving on to a quirk that might be a bug, the Now Playing widget. It shows up in both the notifications pane and the control center area. Ideally, it should be in one or the other. This might be a result of Xiaomi's approach to emulate certain Apple features by separating these two areas. It's not a new thing, but it used to be optional to revert to the traditional Android layout. While these aren't deal breakers, they are definitely quirks you'll want to be aware of if you're considering this phone. Small bugs and oddities like these can affect the overall user experience, especially if you're not expecting them. First up, we've noticed some major changes in the control center. It's become even more iOS-like, with the bottom half of the quick toggles lacking text labels by default. While some icons are self-explanatory, others aren't as clear, leading us to jump into settings to turn text labels back on. This move seems to limit customization, which is quite baffling for a skin that's known for its versatility. Another change that doesn't seem user-oriented is the new way to access notifications. You now have to swipe down from the left side of the screen. This setup makes it harder to reach notifications, especially one-handed. It's a significant shift from the more accessible layout we're used to. Let's talk about a specific bug in the control center. We found not one, but two Wi-Fi calling tiles at the top, and guess what? You can't move or delete them. It's a small detail, but it can be quite annoying. Moving on to the launcher, there's a long-standing bug from MIUI that's still present. When you long press an app icon, it allows you to pin specific sections to the home screen, a feature common in other skins. But here, nothing happens when you try to do that. It's a functionality gap that's quite noticeable if you're used to other Android skins. While these issues aren't deal breakers, they do paint a picture of what it's like using this skin daily. For some, these might be minor annoyances, while for others, they might not matter. However, it highlights the importance of quality control, not just in performance but in these little things, too. HyperOS has been evolving, but one thing that seems to remain constant is its launcher. If you've used MIUI 14, or even MIUI 13, you might not notice much change at first glance. It's reliable, bug-free, and gets the job done efficiently. For those of you looking to enhance your experience, here's a tip. Dive into the launcher settings and adjust the animation speed to fast. It's a game changer for smoothness. Now, even though the control center's customization has seen some limits, HyperOS still offers flexibility in how you view your recent apps. You can stick with the classic MIUI vertical scroll, showing 2 apps at a time, or switch to the more common horizontal scroll. It's great to have options, right? And for those who love a clean screen, you'll appreciate being able to hide the pill gesture bar while using gesture navigation. It's a small but meaningful touch for a sleeker look. Lastly, let's talk about Google's Circle to Search feature. It's finally making the pill bar useful by requiring a long press to activate. Although currently exclusive to Pixel and Galaxy devices, we're hopeful it'll expand to others. And yes, it might just mean the pill bar is here to stay. So, what do you think about these updates and features in HyperOS? Are they enough to keep the interface fresh, or are you looking for more? Drop your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. First up, the gesture navigation in HyperOS continues to offer customization that many of us appreciate. You can still hide the pill gesture bar at the bottom of the screen, a feature we've seen disappear in other interfaces like One UI. However, it's not all smooth sailing. Removing the pill means you lose the ability to quickly switch apps by swiping across the bottom. Seems like a push to keep the bar visible, doesn't it? But if you're like me, you'll find a workaround. To switch apps without the bar, Just swipe up as if heading to recents, then slide to the side without lifting your finger. It's a bit clunky compared to the swipe across gesture, but hey, it works. Moving on to the dark mode in HyperOS. It's a familiar sight if you've used MIUI 14. You've got options to toggle it on or off, schedule it, and even adjust text and backgrounds for better contrast in the dark. And here's a pro tip. You can force dark mode on any app, with the most recently used apps appearing at the top of your settings list. If an app blinds you with brightness, just quick jump into settings and save your eyesight. We tested this feature on a few apps, and it works like a charm, making it a great tool for those late-night browsing sessions. So, what's the verdict? HyperOS keeps giving us reasons to love, and sometimes question, its design choices. Gesture navigation tweaks and dark mode are no exception. What are your thoughts on these features? Are you a fan of hiding the pill bar, or does the potential loss of quick app switching bother you? And how about that dark mode, a must-have for your nighttime use? Drop your opinions and experiences down in the comments. The 13T Pro, alongside the 13T, marks a first for Xiaomi's T-series, Leica-branded cameras. This partnership hints at a serious quality leap from its predecessors. Today, we're delving into what this means for your photos. The Pro variant boasts a versatile camera array, a 50 megapixels main sensor with OIS, a 12 megapixels ultrawide, and a 50 megapixels 2x telephoto lens. It's a refreshing upgrade, especially with the 8 megapixels ultrawide and 2 megapixels macro of the past now replaced by a more capable zoom lens. But here's where it gets interesting: the Leica Touch. Upon launching the camera app, you're asked to choose between Leica Vibrant and Leica Authentic modes. This choice tailors your camera's output to your preference, with the option to switch modes effortlessly. Prefer the Samsung-style vivid colors? Go Vibrant. Or if moody, artistic shots are your thing, Authentic's your mode. Though these are broad strokes, the differences, especially in daylight, are noticeable. Vibrant mode punches up colors and brightness, while Authentic aims for color accuracy with a generally darker, more subdued palette. And the heavy vignetting seen in past models? That's been refined to a subtle effect. We've captured some samples in both modes for you. Starting with Vibrant, you'll see the lively colors and sharp details, minimal noise, and an overall pleasing aesthetic that many of you will love. So, what's the verdict? Does the Leica-branded camera make the 13T Pro a must-have for photography enthusiasts? Or are the differences more about personal preference than a quantum leap in quality? We're excited to hear your thoughts. Do the Leica modes add enough value for you? Drop your opinions and questions in the comments below. First up, let's talk about what sets these modes apart. The Authentic mode offers a softer, more realistic take on photography, with deeper shadows and a darker tone, while Vibrant mode is all about making your photos pop with brighter exposures and more dynamic colors. Interestingly, Auto HDR seems to favor Vibrant mode, kicking in more often to enhance those lively shots. Switching gears to the ultrawide camera, it's a noticeable step up from the 12T Pro. In Vibrant mode, the images look great, though they might lack a bit in detail. But what they lack in detail, they make up for with low noise and decent dynamic range, though contrast can be hit or miss. Authentic mode brings it back to reality with more accurate colors and a less processed appearance, adding a bit more contrast to the mix. It's a subtle but appreciated difference for those seeking a more true-to-life look. The zoom lens in Vibrant mode dazzles with its color and contrast, but detail lovers might notice it falls short compared to the main camera, especially in complex scenes. Switch to Authentic, and you'll see a more balanced approach, with reduced sharpening and more accurate tones. Nighttime photography is where things get really interesting. Both modes are available, but the differences between them narrow down under low light. Our shots were mostly in Vibrant mode, where the Auto Night mode shines for all three cameras, balancing exposure times with a helpful indicator in the viewfinder. Whether you prefer the slightly brighter, sharper manual night mode shots or the excellent auto mode results, the 13T Pro doesn't disappoint. It competes with much pricier phones, offering rich detail, controlled noise, and nicely saturated colors without overdoing it. So, what's the verdict? The Xiaomi 13T Pro's camera, with its Leica-branded vibrant and authentic modes, offers flexibility and quality that can cater to a wide range of photographic preferences. Whether you're after that eye-catching pop or a more subdued, realistic rendition, this phone has you covered. Starting with the basics, the auto mode on this device is pretty impressive. Sure, it might not outshine the priciest flagships, but it delivers rich details, wide dynamic range, and vibrant colors without going overboard. And it handles highlights like a champ. Night mode on the Xiaomi 13T Pro is a game-changer, closely matching the auto mode but with a twist. It brightens up the scene and adds a dash of sharpness, making your night shots pop. But what about when we venture into the realm of ultrawide? Well, it's a mixed bag. Without night mode, the ultrawide lens can struggle, sometimes giving us grainy shots that we hope are just a bug. Yet, with manual night mode, the story changes. The shots look noticeably better, making it our recommended path for low-light ultrawide photography. Zooming in at night, auto night mode does wonders, offering beautiful colors, impressive noise reduction, and decent dynamic range, though it sacrifices some detail. But it's manual night mode where the zoom lens doesn't shine, often overdoing the sharpening. Now, let's talk selfies. The Xiaomi 13T Pro opts for a peculiar approach, using a 20-megapixel sensor that bends down to 5 megapixels, only to upscale back to 20 megapixels. It's complicated. And while colors look great and noise is minimal, the detail takes a hit, and shots can appear soft. In the dark, the selfie cam suggests using the screen flash and finding some ambient light. But be warned, the softness noticed during the day becomes more apparent at night. The Leica branding set our expectations sky high for the Xiaomi 13T Pro, and it mostly delivered, aside from the selfie camera quirks. Given its price point, the camera performance is outstanding. We're just hoping Xiaomi moves past the current selfie sensor soon. At first glance, the Xiaomi 13T Pro might seem like your average high-end phone. Great specs, sure, but does it truly stand out? Well, when you place it in the context of being a flagship killer, that's when the game changes. This isn't just any flagship killer. With a camera system that's breaking the norms for its class and Leica's magic touch, the 13T Pro is making waves. An ultra-wide camera that's actually good in a telephoto lens? That's practically unheard of in this price range. Xiaomi's strategy here is fascinating. They've diversified their lineup to offer a flagship killer at different price points, from the Poco F5 to the 13T Pro, ensuring that you can get top-notch quality based on your budget. But what really sets the 13T Pro apart are not just its cameras. We're talking about fast charging, a high-end chipset, and an IP68 rated design that, while not groundbreaking, packs modern looks and durability. The display on this beast? Bright, accurate, and nearly unbeatable at its price point. Performance-wise, it's smooth as silk, rivaling even the newest chipsets for everyday tasks. The 13T Pro shares the crown for the smoothest smartphone experience we've ever tested. So, what's the verdict? The Xiaomi 13T Pro might not redefine what a smartphone can be, but as a flagship killer, it's exceptional. Offering a blend of features and performance at a price that undercuts true flagships significantly, it's a compelling choice for those looking to get the most bang for their buck. At first glance, the Xiaomi 13T Pro might seem like just another high-end smartphone. But when you consider its position as Xiaomi's flagship killer, things get a lot more interesting. What sets the 13T Pro apart in the flagship killer arena? For starters, its camera system is nothing short of revolutionary for its class. An ultra-wide that actually delivers quality shots and a proper telephoto lens? That's unheard of. Plus, With Leica's branding and processing magic, this phone gets closer to flagship territory than any before it. Xiaomi's strategy is fascinating. They've segmented their flagship killers into tiers, from the budget-friendly Poco F5 to the premium 13T Pro, ensuring there's something for every wallet without internal competition. It's clear that Xiaomi aims to redefine the flagship killer concept, focusing heavily on camera capabilities, faster charging, and a high-end chipset. All these features come at a price, of course, but it's still significantly less than what you'd shell out for a top-tier flagship. The 13T Pro isn't just about specs. It sports a modern look with an IP68 rated body, a bright and accurate screen that's almost unparalleled at its price point, and performance that's smooth as butter, thanks to its powerful chipset. And if you thought that was all, the 13T Pro's battery life and charging speed will blow you away. It's setting records in endurance among high-end Android phones, making it through a day with plenty to spare. So, is the Xiaomi 13T Pro the ultimate flagship killer? Based on our extensive review, it just might be. It offers a premium experience at a fraction of the cost of traditional flagships, especially if camera performance is a top priority for you. Thanks for tuning in to Future Phone Flash. We hope you enjoyed today's tech journey as much as we did. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you won't miss any of our future tech flashes.